Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm joined, as always, in studio by Paul Nealon. This week in Irish football, we've lots to talk about, Paul. We're going to talk about the Irish teams in Europe, the League of Ireland, but not before we get through a couple of different transfers for the Irish abroad. So first of all, Aaron Cashin is gone on a season-long loan to Birmingham. Obviously signed for Brighton last January, £9 million deal. Didn't play too much. I think he made 2 appearances for Brighton, moving already back to Birmingham. Look, they've only been promoted to the Championship, but Tom Brady's ownership there spent a lot of money, a lot of ambition for the Blues. So what do you make of this move?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think he needs a little bit of game time. He came in January, not too sure of how many minutes he actually got. I don't think it was too many, but anyway, moving from, I think it was League One at the time, to the Premier League is a bit of a jump, I think, as well. So he probably, he had to go in, get used to the standard of training and all that sort of stuff. So for him to move to Birmingham, I think it makes a lot of sense for all parties. I don't know what the plan is for him long term, because obviously he's a good defender. He's still quite young. I'd love for him to be able to get into that Brighton team and become a Premier League regular. That'd obviously be really good for Ireland as a whole, and obviously for him. We would like to see that, but the pathways for a lot of Irish players at Brighton at the moment hasn't been that good. Obviously, the only one who it really has been very beneficial for was Shane Duffy. Not so much the others. But yeah, so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, like, this is a move. If he does well in the Championship, there is obviously an opportunity that even Birmingham might look to sign him if they do well or what have you. But I would rather he obviously has a good season and then his stock is a bit more higher and he goes back to Brighton and plays. But I think it probably just one more year of a bit more experience under his belt so he could come back up to the Premier League, I hope. What about you?
Yeah, to be honest, at the time when he moved to Brighton, I thought it was a bit of a strange move. Going from Derby, he was their captain, one of their most important players. And then you're going straight to the Premier League where it didn't feel like they had a glaring need in the position that Cashin plays. Obviously, he's a kind of versatile defender, mostly plays centre back, but can play left back as well. Didn't really feel like that was a position that Brighton were kind of crying out for. Didn't see a path for him into the first team. Felt like he was always going to be a bench player, and he proved to be that, and probably a bit less than that even. He only made 2 appearances. So going to a level which I'd say is probably better for him, and that's not a bad level at all. Like, Birmingham are coming from League One, but like I just said, they were promoted last season, won the league by a distance, spending a lot of money right now. Obviously signed Kyogo, who Celtic fans will know as well. But spent a lot of money and looking to kind of do an Ipswich almost, do back-to-back promotions and go from League One to the Championship to the Premier League in 2 seasons. So I think it's a good move for him. I think he'll play a lot of minutes. He'll probably play week in, week out, and hopefully give him that. I know when he made that Brighton move, he was playing so well for Derby that we were looking at him as another option for the Ireland setup, but didn't pan out that way, how the Brighton move turned out. I think this is an opportunity for him going back to Birmingham where he'll get far more game time and maybe put himself in that window.
Yeah, and look, even at that, like if you say they get back-to-back promotions or whatever, they might want look to take Malone again for that season, and then he gets Premier League experience that way as well. So there could be some positives to it as well. Well, not that there's any real negatives to it, but you know what I mean. He could be a real positive on the move if he ends up getting them, hopefully up towards the Premier League, and then you never know, he could end up either playing with them for a season and then slots into the Brighton team, or what way that works. It remains to be seen, but yeah, it's an interesting move.
Yeah, so previously we went into a bit of depth on other Irish goalkeepers, Mark Travers and Caoimhín Kelleher, even Josh Keeley as well. But I want to talk about 2 other situations with Irish goalkeepers today. Gavin Bazoon, who, first of all, Aaron Ramsdale, the Southampton goalkeeper last year, looks to be on the move again, going to Newcastle on loan, I believe. Not sure if he'll be the starter or the backup or whatever when he goes there, but opens up the starting role at Southampton for Gavin Bazoon to come back in and hopefully play far more minutes than we were expecting him to play. Obviously went to Standard Liège last season. Injury troubles meant he didn't play too much there, but hopefully going to be playing in a hopefully top level team in the Championship next year.
Yeah, I think it'd be crucial for him to get a year back, in his development. I know he's had a good pre-season, and I think Southampton fans have been really impressed with him in pre-season so far. And I think he obviously cut his loan short at Liège because of injury. So, it'd be good for him to get back playing, especially in a year where you look at, if anything happened to Jordan Pickford, Mark Travers could be a number 1 in the Premier League for a number of games, hypothetically speaking. Then you have obviously Caoimhín Kelleher, who could be, or who will be, the number 1 at Brentford. And, then it's kind of like that third spot second spot still at the moment, which was his position where he was pretty much the second spot since probably John O'Shea came in the setup. Kelleher's been favoured. But you would say that second or third spot would, would be open to Bazoon. But I think if he's playing regularly, and there's obviously a lot of games in the championship, you're playing nearly 2 games a week in the championship. So he'd be playing, he'd be sharp, he'd be ready. And I think that's what we'd love to see. I think you'll see the best of Bazoon. And I don't think if he has a good season at Southampton this year, I don't think he'd be there that long. I think he'd be sold on to a bigger side next season. So I think it's a huge plus that he'll get first team goalkeeping, but I hope he doesn't stay at Southampton for too long, because they're yo-yoing up and down the Premier League, and they're just they're not the Southampton they obviously were a few years back, where they were, although they were selling players to Liverpool quite a lot, they had a lot of good players that they were still able to kind of bring in. And I think last season they were really poor in the Premier League, and I just hope that he wouldn't be at a team like that if he has a good season. I'm hoping that this is a kind of stepping stone season for him, that he goes on from here and goes on to play for a really good level, or a really good club at a really good level, whether that's abroad or he's obviously got that little bit of experience in Belgium, so I think other clubs could take a punt on him as well.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Gavin Bazoon. I think we all are, and I know he said he's gotten a lot of praise for this pre-season. He's also gotten a lot of criticism from Southampton fans for his time in the past, so that's unfortunate to see, because I think all Ireland fans know how talented of a goalkeeper he is. So I'm just kind of happy to see him hopefully get an extended run in the team this season in the championship, in a side who is hopefully again looking to get promoted. So that's the positive side of the goalkeeping story. Slightly more negative side, we'll just touch on this briefly. Max O'Leary, his situation at Bristol City. So Bristol have signed Radek Vitek, who is an up-and-coming Man United goalkeeper, underage Czech international, I believe, highly thought of at Man United. He's been sent out on loan to Bristol City. Look, Max O'Leary, he made his first Ireland appearance against Luxembourg away, performed quite well, although he did come under a little bit of criticism at the end of the season with Bristol City. Made a couple of mistakes. Looks like his position might be under a little bit of threat now coming into this season.
Yeah, but look, I think he's been there quite a long time, so I think it's not necessarily a bad thing that he's been on his toes, because when people get too comfortable sometimes, the standards kind of drop. So it could be in that scenario where they're bringing him in to keep him on his toes and make sure you get the best version of Max O'Leary, because I think he is a very good goalkeeper. I don't think he's better than the other three that we have, and I think that's shown why he hasn't got into the Ireland team when the three of them are available in Travers, Kelleher and Bazoon. So I think for O'Leary, yeah, it's a strange one. It's interesting, but it's totally within his grasp. Like, if he's been there that long, he's clearly respected and all that sort of stuff. So, it's up to him. It's his jersey to lose. So as long as he keeps performing, although I get, like, if a keeper's going on loan, they're clearly going to get experience. So how does that work out? It'll be on him. And if he's out of the team, then he needs to go look for a new club. If that's what his aspirations are, to be in that Ireland squad in the World Cup year, in the World Cup qualifications or qualifiers, then, he needs to be playing.
Yeah.
And he didn't do himself any harm in the games that he did play for Ireland, or the game that he did play. I thought he was quite good.
Yeah, I thought he played quite well, to be fair. So that's it for the Irish abroad transfers. We'll move on to Irish clubs in Europe, and your Shelburne unfortunately lost 3-0 at home to Qarabag. To be honest, the scoreline probably flatters Qarabag a little bit. I thought Shells actually had a lot of chances really to score. I know, like, it's worth saying Qarabag did have a lot of chances as well. Lorcan Healy made some good saves to stop, but they're only 1-0 down up until the 81st minute, and I'd say they'd be really disappointed to have shipped those 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. Obviously a counter-attack and then just a mix-up at the back. You were at this game. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they were quite relentless, Qarabag.
They looked really good.
Yeah, they did. Like, you could see there why they are playing at the level that they are playing at in terms of European football group stages and stuff like that, and why Shells aren't. And so silly little errors that you need, at crucial times in games, and that's what ultimately has cost Shells here. Not scoring again, capitalising in moments, and I think that's where Shells are lacking, is that killer instinct to get a goal when it's needed at a 0 or 1-0 or a 0-0, and that's how a lot of times this season it's happened, where Shells will be trying to pass the ball a lot, have a lot of chances, but ultimately not score the goal, and then the other team will go up the other end and score the goal, and that wins the game. And then you're just sit into a low block and whatever. And Carabag did that for a while, but once they got that second goal, and in fairness, the second goal was quite good. Counter attack, as you say, and then there was the dink, hit the post, came back out to their player, and he scored. But it was at that stage where Shells had all the momentum and then just swung like that, and then it was the little error at the back then between the mix up at the back, and then look 3-0. It was already an uphill task going there. If it had been 1-0 to try and get into the game, score a goal and get back into it, I'd be very, very surprised if Shells can get a good result over there, just with the heat, with the flight, all that sort of stuff. As much as I'd love to see it being the case that they will, I just don't believe that they will, just purely down to those different reasons I mentioned.
Yeah, and it's a good point in fairness, because you look at that scoreline, and if you didn't watch the match, you might have thought, oh, Shells were 11 men behind the ball, sitting in, and only shipped 3 goals. But the reason it ended 3-0 was because Shells were pushing for an equaliser in the second half and going into the final 15-10 minutes, which meant that they, kind of left the back door open, really. Look, I think Shells, like you said, will be very disappointed that they didn't score on the night. I think they had many opportunities to do so. I'd say shout out to Kerr McEnroy. I thought he was especially good on the night. But I think Shells, look, I don't think there's cause to be too disappointed about this. I agree with you that the tie is probably over, but they will feel like in this European run that the job was to beat Linfield, and that guarantees them that Conference League playoff game. Look, coming up, they drop out into the Europa League now, and I believe they play the winner of Rijeka from Croatia or Ludogorets from Bulgaria. Ludogorets, similar to Karabag, one of them teams who are kind of in and out of the Champions League every other year, so that'll be a difficult test.
I think that they'll take learnings from the game against Karabag. I mean, they have to, but I think I have to say I've been impressed with how Joey O'Brien has set the team up or whatever. Obviously saw it wasn't working. They made a couple of subs at half time. I think Sean Gannon came off, got a yellow card, so I think that's why he was taken off. And then just obviously Spare going down to 10 men, they took him off, and then really went direct at Karabag. And look, they were unlucky because on another day one of those chances goes in, like the Paddy Barrett chance, so you hit the crossbar, the shock cross, whatever you want to call it. If that goes in, it's a completely different game. Shells could go on and, they have the momentum, could go on and win 2-1 in the tie, bring that to Karabag, then you're looking at it differently. So that's what I'm saying about learnings. Like, they'll hopefully take learnings from this, and I think you're going to mention it at some point. Like, they've made new signings now, so it'll be interesting to see can some of them come in and maybe affect over the next round or two.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, from a fan's point of view, the most important thing is the kind of journey on the pitch, how far they can progress into hopefully European football. But
but they have to take inspiration from Shamrock Rovers last year, as much as maybe fans don't want to say that about other clubs or whatever. But Shamrock Rovers' journey, even you're sitting there with a bow stop on you, but you have to say for the league, it's great to have someone there representing the league, and if they're doing well and winning games, maybe you might not say that in a sense because of the rivalry, but if you look at it as an overall, I think you'd have to say it's great to see League of Ireland teams going to different places and getting good results.
Well, it's a reason why Shells have got such a great opportunity to qualify this year. But like I was saying, like off the pitch, it's huge as well, the money that they're bringing in, and it's meant that they can sign some of these big name players. I'm just going to list off a few of the signs they made, and I know you talked about it a little bit last week, but Jack Henry Francis on loan from Arsenal, new goalkeeper Vessel Spiel in from Minnesota United on loan, winger Sean Moore, who I know you think highly of, coming in from West Ham, and then finally Milan Mbeng from Cork City, who I think is a really good player, one of the standouts for a bad Cork side this season. So strengthened on the pitch as well.
Yeah, well, I think as you said there, and I think beating Linfield allowed Shells probably to go and spend that little bit more, and add maybe a bit more quality, because Sean Gannon's been injured a lot, and I think Mbeng plays on that right side. So to have someone instead of kind of shoehorning Evan Caffrey into that position, you have someone there. Obviously got a bad injury to Tyreek Wilson last week as well. So it's just kind of putting in players in different positions and stuff like that. But I didn't know that Henry Francis was a loan. I thought that was permanent. But yeah, good signing for Europe. He brings a lot in. The lad spoke about him last week, and I know Andrew spoke about him as well. I haven't seen a whole lot of him, but I'm excited to, from what I've heard about him, I'm excited to see what he brings. But Sean Moore, yeah, he was a left winger who kind of lit up the NIFL with Cliftonville, and he was really highly thought of. And then I think there was a lot of worry of, was he going to declare for Northern Ireland, obviously Republic of Ireland. I think with a name like Moore and playing for Cliftonville, I think he was always going to play for the Republic of Ireland, but he was with the under-21s, and then went to West Ham with a lot of a big reputation behind him, and he's come back to England or to Ireland from England for whatever reason. But Joey O'Brien seems really excited, and Luke Byrne, and I think Luke Byrne probably deserves a lot of credit for he's the technical director now at Chelsea as well as being the assistant manager to Joey O'Brien. So till the end of the season, he's going to be the assistant. I bumped into him and actually he's telling me about that. So, but he's actually his day to day is the technical director's job. So he's brought in obviously 4 really good signings and 4 young, profiled signings, you would say.
Yeah, Jack Henry Francis probably the big name out of them. Might be the same. I'm not going to kind of claim to have watched every minute of him, but I know if he's, that highly thought of that he's sitting on the bench against Real Madrid for Arsenal in the Champions League, then he can only be a good player. But moving on to St. Patrick's Athletic, who won 1-0 at home to Caldew. And to be honest, Pats were on top for the whole game, really. I thought they'd probably be a little bit disappointed that they only lose this game 1-0, especially in the circumstances of it in the second half. The space of 5 minutes, Caldew were reduced to 9 men. It took a last minute Chris Forrester goal, missed our St. Pat's stepping up when it's most needed, and a brilliant composed finish by him to put the Saints 1-0 in front. But I'd say probably a little bit disappointed they're only 1-0 up in this tie.
Yeah, well, when you're playing against 9 men, you should really be getting more goals. But as you know, we need to be careful what we say. So yeah, it's great. We're delighted for Chris Forrester, record appearance holder for Pats in Europe as well. It might be the record goal scorer. I'd happily be corrected if that is the case, but I know he's the record appearance holder now in Europe for St. Pat's. Obviously, we know him well. So I'm delighted. And a great finish, great composure to not take. He could have snatched it the first time, and he looked like he had all the time in the world, and like really composed finish, waited for the keeper to go down, put it past him. So it was a brilliant finish and great scenes in Richmond Park, and you'd hope that they can finish the job off and then they have a tie against Shakhtar or Besiktas, which would be really good and a good test for them. I don't think they'll get past that. But yeah, I don't think they get past that stage. But it's good to see they're in a really good position to take it over there. But the fact that they can't score goals despite the team that they have is a little bit of a worry, because if Calgary get a goal, then they're straight back into it. So Pats would need to get a goal early, in my opinion, for this tie to go well, I think, just overall. But I'd be hoping that they can progress to then face one of the big two there.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. If they do go through, they face the loser of Besiktas or Shakhtar Donetsk. Shakhtar winning that tie 4-2 right now. So if they do go through, it looks like they're going to be facing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in Istanbul. So bit of a brutal week, to be honest, for Pats. They were drawn against the two of them, and then also against Shells in the third round, I believe, of the FAI Cup. So a bit of a rough draw there at that stage of the competition. But moving on to Shamrock Rovers, who got quite a good draw in this round of Europe. They're playing St. Joseph's from Gibraltar. Beat them 4-0 out there. It was goals from Rory Gaffney, Danny Mandrew, John McGovern and Jack Byrne. And look, Rovers were really comfortable in this one. And if they win, they go on to face the winner of Balkany from Kosovo or Floriana from Malta, which again, you would think they'd probably go through that quite easily. So I think, looking at this, it's a really good opportunity this season for not only one but two Irish clubs to hopefully make the group stages of a European competition.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be getting carried away just yet, but I think they'll take it round by round. But yeah, as you say, it's a great opportunity for both clubs, and imagine how amazing that would be to have two Irish clubs in Europe, and it would show the progress of Irish football, I would say. So that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'd be absolutely delighted to see that. I think there's an element of me would like to see Shamrock Rovers with a full strength team to see what they could actually do in group stages, because obviously we know that they were depleted with injuries. A lot of big players that you'd normally expect, like Rory Gaffney, Jack Byrne, Aaron McAniff, players like that who would be big, some of the biggest players in the league in the last number of years, and to see them fit and firing and playing for them, it would be interesting to see how they would fare. And obviously Jack had been injured for so long, and now he's kind of coming into his own again. But I haven't seen too much of him lately. He obviously scored last week though, so that was good for him. They got that young lad John McGovern up front, who Steve's a big fan of, even though he's never seen him play. But I had to throw that one in. Sorry, Steve. But no, I think when I look at that and I see that they're adding players as well, I mean they got Conor Malley off Sligo as well.
Yeah.
Be interested to see how they'll use him. But is he another body because they're really prioritising Europe? So you gotta take that, and then Gary O'Neill and stuff like that. So you wonder would they add any more bodies as well on top of that?
Just to stay on Rovers there, you mentioned it there. They brought in Conor Malley to strengthen in the midfield on loan from Sligo Rovers. But looking at their squad this year, I know they made the great run last year and they've lost a couple of players since then. Do you think this squad is better set up now to actually make a run in Europe?
You would say probably, yeah, because they have a lot of their bigger hitters back, whereas like they were obviously did quite well to get to where they got to, and they found a way of winning games like that. But they had Johnny Kenny, who was good in Europe. Didn't think he was that good in the league though, of Ireland. He's obviously doing really well at Celtic now, and delighted for him. But I think, yeah, because even like say Darragh Burns at right wing back,
Perugia.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I do think they're in a better position now, and I think that shows with the winning 4-0 because Shells played that St. Joseph side last year and went over and they beat them. I think they beat them well enough. Like I don't think they're a great side, so I think the next game that they play will be an interesting test. And I think that Stephen Bradley and his coaching staff there, of Glenn Cronin and Stephen McPhail and all, they're very savvy in their approach and their tactics. They can mix things up at times, and they've players that can help them mix things up. So if they need to add an extra striker up front, like they can move things around and make it work. So I think that they're in a really good position. That's what I mean is what they've got this season, maybe more than last season. They might not have the Ferrugians, but they have a better overall squad, which allows them to kind of mix their tactics up, which I think Stephen Bradley would be a lot happier with.
Yeah, the other thing, I agree. I think their squad probably is a bit stronger this season going into it. And I think the thing that they have on their side is that they really have that momentum. Like last season, they were really, to be honest, they were poor, like for their standards in the league.
For the standards it's set, yeah.
Yeah, and going into that Europe, they're a complete different team in Europe. Coming into this, they've basically blown through the league. And I don't want to, kind of write off Bohs and Derry yet, but the league is really over in terms of the title. So it's been quite comfortable this season. They're going into this European campaign fresh. Now, I know this can be a negative as well because they've basically been going non-stop from the start of last season to now. And if they qualify for Europe, they'll be going into next season as well. So in terms of fitness, that could be an issue. But look, they've got big enough squad. They're adding to it. I think they're in a really good position to make a run in it. But moving on to the League of Ireland, and I wanted to start with this one because I think you watched it on TV. Relegation 6-pointer between Sligo and Cork. Sligo came from 2 goals behind to beat Cork away from home. All but relegates Cork, to be honest. Another bitter loss. Leaves them 11 points adrift of Sligo in the relegation playoff. What you made of this game? Roy Keane was at this as well. I'm sure he wasn't impressed.
He was signing hats before the game, which is on our social media with over 1 million views. It's mad. But yeah, I think my heart goes out to Cork because I want them to do well. I always say I like to see Cork doing well. We have a big following of our channel from down there, so I like to see them do well. It's unfortunate that they just haven't been doing well on the pitch, and they're getting beat a lot of the time. They've done well in this game. Thought Seanie Maguire is excellent. Should have been man of the match, but obviously the scoreline went against him once he went off. He was on the pitch at 2-0 and he'd scored. And I think was it Evan McLaughlin?
McLaughlin scored a good goal. That was the first one, I believe.
Nutmeg, yeah. And you're looking at them going, okay, maybe they're gonna go on now. 2-0, can they hold on? And then Sligo. So Sligo made some clever loans. James McManus and
Ryan O'Kane.
Yeah, obviously he got the winner in the game, and they have someone else as well. I can't. But they have obviously Owen Elding who dragged them back as well. He was really good too. So yeah, I mean it could have went either way. I think Sligo or Cork hit the bar and then went down the other end, and Sligo scored the winner. And it's a cruel game, football, and that could have given them the little bit of momentum that's key in games and in seasons that could have maybe helped them go on. But yeah, it looks inevitable now that they'll unfortunately be back down in the first division again. Aaron Howie won't be happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And it's kind of just summed up Cork season. Really, nothing's gone right for them. It felt like everything bounced Sligo's way in this game.
But they're protesting as well against the ownership and stuff like that. So it just doesn't seem to be a nice place to be at the moment. And players are getting criticised and stuff like that. Even we put up something about Shawnee Maguire from a podcast we're doing, and obviously it's going to launch in a couple of weeks. But people are like, oh, he should shut up and do his own, even though he's been scoring, he's been doing his bit, but he can't make everyone else around him be as good as him.
Yeah, definitely bad mood down in Cork at the moment, and losing one of their better players in Milan and Bang to Shells doesn't help either. But moving on to a big match for Europe that took place in the Brandywell on Friday as well. Derry won, Bows won. The bigger story was probably what took place outside of the ground, but to focus on the pitch for a moment, new signing for Derry Depot, Akinyemi, opened the scoring for the Candy Stripes, and he actually was quite impressive for me, even though he was shooting from absolutely everywhere. A handful nonetheless, and he got his goal, and it was a good goal. Put Derry 1-0 up just before the break. Into the second half, Ross Tierney equalised for Bows. Probably a better point for Bows, really, considering Derry were 1-0 up, going away to the Brandywell, a really tough place to go. So kind of as you were for the race for Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when Derry went 1-0 up, I thought they might get a second. So fair play to Bows, they got back into it and got the goal. It was a bit of a boring game in comparison to the Sligo game, but there was a bit more at stake there. Regarding the stuff before the game, I mean, what's the point in that? Like, why do people do these things? And I don't even know if it is Derry fans. It could be just people from Derry that are standing there doing it. You just don't know. So you can't just brand a fan base, because any of the dealings I've ever had with Derry fans have been really nice. And you think of that Shells when they won the league, and the fans stay behind and clapped Damien Duff, and then they clapped the Shells team and all that sort of stuff. They don't come across as fans like that,
In fairness to Derry fans, it sounds like it was both sets of fans. There was a group from each side that were involved in that, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, either way, I just think it's stupid. Like, you're there to follow a team. Why does it have to turn into violence or vandalism or destruction of things? It's just stupid. I just don't know why people get involved in that side of it. It just makes no sense. You're either there for a fight, or you're there to watch a match. I mean, if you're there for a fight, just take up boxing or something like that, or go to a boxing match or whatever. Because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, completely agree. But anyway, the points were shared in the Brandywell. Moving on to a more, positive news. Great win away for Waterford on Friday, beating Galway 4-2 in Galway. And Galway kind of being dragged into a little bit of a relegation playoff scrap between them and Sligo, who are in red hot form at the moment. And then just to touch on Waterford as well, they leapfrog Pats into 6th place, only 2 points off Shelburne. So under John Coleman, they've been brilliant this season.
Yeah, but I think just in Galway, I think they're having a big hangover from losing Moses Dyer. They're having a big hangover from that. And then you look at Waterford, since Coleman's come in, they've been brilliant. And Padraig Hammond, I think Waterford will be doing everything they can to keep him around again for next year, because he just scores goals and he's just so good. Even still at the age of him now, whatever, I think he'll still go on for another couple of seasons. I'd be surprised if he didn't, but he's been excellent for them. And as you say, Conan Noonan as well, he's got a nice goal as well. He's been excellent. He's been a great signing for them. He could arguably be the signing of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
What he's done for them, in terms of goals and stuff like that. He's been a big player for them. So really like Waterford, and I think that they're going well. I don't think they will finish above Shells overall at the end of the season, but time will tell. Obviously, there's been it is Europe. I think Shells will be prioritising that at the moment, but Shells seem to be results in the league and stuff like that have been getting better under Joey O'Brien anyway. So we'll wait and see on that one. Shells will have a bigger squad now as well, so they'll be able to kind of maybe mix and match different bits for Europe and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. But look, all positive from a Waterford standpoint, and I think Galway probably really suffering since Moses Dyer has gone, because he obviously was such a big player for him, and he's arguably the best striker in the league at the time. Yeah.
And talking about Conan Noonan, we're discussing Rover squad. If he was to go back into that team, the wonders that would do. But I'd say similarly to Padraig Hammond, Waterford will be doing everything they can to hang on to him into next season. So kind of a mid-table clash, to be honest, but does have implications on Galway, who I actually do think are in serious risk of being sucked back into that relegation playoff scrap with Sligo, because Sligo just look like they're going in the complete opposite direction. They look like they're winning games, playing really well. Owen Elding, obviously one of one of the best players in the league at the moment, some really good young players, whereas Galway, the good players that they have are, leaving. So unfortunately for Galway, it seems like they're being sucked back into that. Moving on anyway to Evan Ferguson, who played his first couple of minutes for Roma, his new side. 5 goals in 75 minutes, I believe it was. Unbelievable start for him.
Yeah, well, we're not allowed to talk about Evan Ferguson scoring goals according to people online in the comment section, so don't know what that's about. But yeah, obviously we're going to report if one of our star strikers is scoring goals. Yeah, I think a friend of mine got on to me, was kind of complaining about the caption of saying that he won't score an easier goal because they were saying he worked hard to get it. I wasn't saying that. I just mean in terms of the finish, it was an easy goal to put away. You know what I mean? He done well to obviously get into that position, but it's good to see him scoring goals. How good is it to see a club like Roma posting things about an Irish player? How good is it? Like, we've seen it obviously with Azad Alkmaar, and when these clubs get our kind of best Irish talent, they really get behind them, and they really kind of, I like the way they promote our players. It's really good. I really like it. And obviously I think Roma are a massive club, so when you see Ferguson seals the goal and then he's on the full-time graphic celebrating and stuff like that, and obviously they were wearing that really lovely jersey that I have ordered, the Irish colours on it. So yeah, it was brilliant to see him scoring and stuff like that. Not getting it carried away because it is only pre-season, but I mean, you always want your players to start well, and then the fans will get behind him. So I think he's building something there where the fans can get behind if he's scoring goals. I do think Roma were an awful watch in the match. You know what I mean? So like, he was kind of the bright spark of a really dull game. All the hallmarks of a pre-season game, but nonetheless, great to see him scoring goals. And just another Irish striker who's scoring goals. A Leyton Orient, Aaron Connolly has played, I think it's 4 games, and he's got 3 goals for Leyton Orient. Yeah. And a few people have brought it to our attention. Now, look, the level of opposition: Tottenham under 21, Ebbs Fleet, and Welling, where they won 10-0, 1-4-1 and 1-3-1, and then he played against Waterford. So he's scoring goals, so that's a plus, because he hadn't been doing it. Like, that's 3 and 4, not getting carried away again pre-season. But look, it's good to see him maybe enjoying his football again, having gone through such a rough storm.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And just to touch back on Evan Ferguson, like, I know similarly to Aaron Connolly, the opposition wasn't great. I believe it was a college team they played in the first game, and then Kaiserslautern was the next game. He did score a couple of tap-ins, but he did really well to get in those positions. He did score a few screamers as well. He scored one really nice goal, top near post corner, on the keeper for that college team. And also nice to see in the Kaiserslautern game, that kind of hunger to chase down the keeper and force that mistake. So looks like he's really kind of taken to Roma and is really buying into the project there with Gasparini and playing with some really good players. I know you said they aren't the best watch, but hopefully over time that'll progress. And Evan
pre-season though,
Yeah, and Evan Ferguson will help them out with that, of course. Aaron Connolly, yeah, look, if it was easy, everybody would be scoring those goals. So it's good to see him as a striker scoring goals for Leyton Orient. Hopefully he can take that form into the regular season when it does start. Fingers crossed for him.
And it's actually just on that as well. Obviously, I don't know if you have it there, but Troy Parrott scoring in Europe, and he got an assist. We spoke about Callum O'Dowda as well. I think they're playing tonight, maybe. Ferencváros. And then Jamie McGrath scoring in Europe as well. So we've had some good goal scorers in Europe, and Troy picking up from where he picked off last year, but they're in a bit of danger now of going out because of the way the round. I think they're 4-2 down. The last time I saw the scoreline on that one.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him, because we know that was a huge part in Troy Parrott's form last season, was his run in Europe, scoring against some of these big clubs, and that really set him on the way to being, AZ's top scorer and one of the top scorers, I believe second top scorer in Holland last season.
4-3 it finished, so they take the game back to AZ Stadium.
Yeah.
Stadion.
Yeah. So fingers crossed they can pull through on that one. Anything else you want to touch on, or is that we all good?
I think we touch on Europe. There's still a lot of movement could happen. Nathan Collins being one who couldn't potentially go to Spurs. I think the transfer window is starting to see a lot of movement now. I think that when that starts happening, the wheels in motion come in for other transfers. So you never know, something could still happen there. I think Nathan could still end up at Spurs. There's a lot of talk of it.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see.
Still a lot of dominoes to fall there, but stay tuned to This Week in Irish Football, where you can hear all about that. For now, we'll see you next week.